in interesting times. Today's stories. Canada's COVID-19 projections are frightening. Demand for support from mental health services rise. New health orders are in place as COVID-19 cases in British Columbia continues to rise. Western allies say China broke Hong Kong deal by ousting lawmakers. Pfizer and BioNTech to seek emergency vaccine approval in the U.S. Taxi to nowhere. Virus measures hit London black cab business. Independent Samoa confirms its first COVID-19 case. And in sports, Golden State Warriors select James Wiseman at number 2 in NBA draft. Hello everyone, you're watching Eagle News International from Canada. I'm Arnie Malihan reporting from Vancouver, British Columbia, bringing you stories from across the globe. Eagle News correspondent Thomas I. Likeness shares COVID-19 projections here in Canada.
There's no good news in the latest predictions from Canadian public health officials. Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Theresa Tam, she wants to see what the future looks like as far as the pandemic. What's she looking at? Well, she's seeing lots of clouds, and in those clouds, thousands of new cases. She's predicting that Canada will see 20,000 new cases of COVID-19 every day by the end of December. That's if things keep going the way they are. Now, that's the bad news. Here's the worse news. We throw the holiday season into the mix, and instead of decreasing their contacts and socializing, people may increase it. You know, family dinners, time to ring in the new year with family and friends. You know, it's the season where people like to visit. So what does that do to Dr. Tam's modeling? She says now cases could jump to 60,000 a day, 3 times as many. Now, the even worse news. Our healthcare system could be paralyzed. Overwhelmed with COVID cases, hospitals will have little capacity to treat other serious cases. I'm talking about the trauma cases from car crashes, heart attacks, strokes, other serious illnesses. And non-elective cases? Well, forget it, because there'll be no room at the inn this December for any surgical case that is not life-threatening. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke with reporters yesterday, and although Trudeau says he has no plans to declare a national emergency, he says now might be the time to consider another lockdown. Trudeau says in the long run, that might be better for the economy.
Doing the things that protect our health are actually the best things to do to protect our economy. Going into lockdown and supporting businesses while we're in that lockdown is a better way of ensuring their success in a few months, in a few years, than trying to tough through a virus that is running around unchecked.
But Trudeau says decisions on shutdowns will have to be made by the provinces. He called them a little earlier this week. He says he begged the premiers to, and these are his words, do the right thing. He wants regions with high case numbers to be locked down. He says the federal government will backstop businesses that are faced with a shutdown. So forget any dreams of ushering out 2020 and ringing in the new year with family and friends this holiday season, because if that's what you're dreaming, those dreams will become the country's worst nightmare. While we all do our part to flatten the curve, I wish you all good health. Remember to take care of others and take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic and other current affairs. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Many Ontarians are seeking for support from mental health services due to COVID-19. Here is Eagle News correspondent Sabrina Solano de los Reyes with the story.
Due to the heavy impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, from prolonged isolation and physical distancing, financial difficulties, and the massive daily intake of new information about the virus, many Ontarians have experienced a large range of mental health and addictions challenges, raising the demand for support from mental health services and the province's police officers who respond to these mental health calls. That is why the province has announced that it will be providing $37 million in expanding the justice system's mental health services. Take a look.
It's important that our police receive the training and the support they need to respond to these calls. It's very important they have backup from trained mental health professionals who can help them de-escalate situations and get people the help they need. So today, I'm sending in reinforcements for our police and mental health workers. We're investing $37 million to significantly expand mental health services across the justice system, including hiring additional staff, expanding mobile crisis teams across the province, and supporting tailored programs for First Nations communities.
Associate Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, Michael Tibolo, provides a breakdown of the province's mental health services and support expansion.
As part of Roadmap to Wellness, our plan to build a connected and integrated mental health and addiction system, we're proud to be investing $37 million to significantly expand access to mental health services across Ontario's justice system. These services will support the challenging work being done by the many brave women and men of Ontario's law enforcement services every single day. It will also lead to better supports for individuals living with mental health and addictions challenges and assist Ontario's frontline heroes in handling mental health cases. This funding will bring much-needed supports to Ontario's justice system, including supportive housing programs designated for individuals involved in the justice system, mobile crisis services, as well as for safe bed programs to support them, addictions and withdrawal specialists to support safe bed programs, enhanced addictions programming within adult correctional institutions, mental health and addictions peer supports for offenders under community supervision, a corrections peer support program, and mental health and addiction supports for vulnerable and marginalized persons as part of the Ministry of the Attorney General's Justice Centres.
Solicitor General Sylvia Jones also explains the importance of providing support to police officers responding to mental health crises and frontline workers working in correctional facilities. Take a look.
In the community, police officers are often called to respond to situations involving individuals in crisis. We know these situations can often be better addressed by a support system that includes a mental health worker. That is why our investment supports the implementation of mobile crises teams, which assist police in de-escalating high-pressure situations and connect individuals with the mental health services they need.
Premier Ford encourages Ontarians who are struggling to reach out to Ontario's mental health services. For more information on Ontario's mental health services and hotlines, visit ontario.ca/mental health. In Toronto, Sabrina Solano de los Reyes, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
As COVID-19 cases continue to rise, British Columbia's top doctor issues a new health order. Eagle News correspondent Jeanette Duazo with the details.
British Columbia's Provincial Health Officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, issued a new provincial health order due to the quick and sudden resurgence of COVID-19 cases in the province. As of the issuance of this new order, there are 6,926 active cases and 321 deaths due to COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic. This order is effective November 19 until December 7. The order includes no social gatherings and events outside of the households. Dr. Bonnie Henry clarified this. Let's listen in.
So that goes back, and that's a bit of a technical language. The mass gathering and events order is on the website, and it refers to the restrictions and limits. The maximum number of people we could have in an event was 50, and these events could take place in many different places. Those are now suspended across the province for the next 2 weeks. While places of worship are to have no in-person groups services for this period of time, and I've had the privilege of meeting with a large number of faith leaders from around the province, and this is important, and they understand that we need our faith services more than ever right now, but we need to do them in a way that's safe. And with the community transmission that we're seeing, and the fact that we have seen transmission in some of our faith-based settings, we need to suspend those and support each other and find those ways to care for each other remotely.
Schools and workplaces remain open. Masks are now enforced in all public indoor settings and workplaces. Employers are required to enforce the policy with their employees. Likewise, they can refuse entry or service to customers if they do not wear a mask. All workplaces were advised to be more diligent in enforcing their safety protocols on a daily basis. Otherwise, they may face fines and possible closure order if found non-compliant. Indoor group physical activities considered to be high risk remain suspended. When it comes to travel, Dr. Henry did not issue a travel order. She did emphasize that all non-essential travel should be avoided. For people coming in from outside British Columbia, they were asked, if at all possible, to postpone their travel, and if not, to minimize their social interactions and to follow the order and guidelines in British Columbia. Dr. Henry called the attention and have an appeal to the young people and young adults.
I especially, though, want to recognize and appeal to young people and young adults to help us in this effort. I know how difficult this has been for you and the impact on your lives. I know that you have been missing birthdays and graduations and celebrations of these important transitional moments in our lives. I also know that you have been role models and inspirations. Young people have proven that they have resilience, that you're adaptable, and that you're brave. And I'm calling on all of you right now. I need you. I need you to be superheroes, to step up, to hold the line, and to help all of us get through this.
In British Columbia, Jeanette Duazo, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
The United States, Britain, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand accused China of violating its legally binding international commitments by ousting pro-democracy lawmakers from Hong Kong's legislature. The foreign ministers of the five allies said China was going against its 1984 promise that it would preserve autonomy in the financial hub after the then British colonies handover in 1997.
我们对有关国家公然违反国际法和国际关系基本准则，对属于中国内政的香港事务说三道四、指手画脚，表示强烈不满和坚决反对。
The removal of 4 opposition lawmakers triggered an en masse resignation of the remaining colleagues, the latest move in a deepening crackdown against Beijing's critics following last year's huge and often violent democracy protests. China's actions is a clear breach of its international obligations under the legally binding UN-registered Sino-British Joint Declaration, the nations said in a joint statement, reiterating individual remarks.
中国人从来不惹事，也从来不怕事。不管他们长5只眼，还是10只眼，只要胆敢损害中国的主权、安全、发展利益，小心他们的眼睛被戳瞎。
The foreign minister said the latest move appeared to be part of a concerted campaign to silence all critical voices in the financial hub. The alliance, known collectively as the Five Eyes, said that For the sake of Hong Kong's stability and prosperity, it is essential that China and the Hong Kong authorities respect the channels for the people of Hong Kong to express their legitimate concerns and opinion. China's foreign ministry spokesman on Thursday hit back against the accusation, calling it a blatant violation of international law and saying any attempt to exert pressure on China is doomed to fail. China promised to rule Hong Kong via a one country, two systems model that would allow the city to retain key freedoms and autonomy from the authoritarian mainland until 2047. Western allies say that agreement has been prematurely shredded by the clampdown, which has included a broad national security law that was imposed directly by Beijing in June. The law has since all but wiped out dissent against Chinese rule in the territory and left swaths of population too scared to speak out, fearing being jailed or disappearing into the mainland's opaque legal system. An emergency use authorization request for the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Pfizer and BioNTech was expected to be filed with the FDA on Friday, the U.S. government and BioNTech's co-founder had said. This type of Food and Drug Administration authorization is temporary or conditional and is granted in response to an emergency situation such as a pandemic. Pfizer's partner, BioNTech, has announced that tomorrow they intend to file for emergency use authorization at the FDA, Health Secretary Alex Azar told a press conference in Washington.
And now, Pfizer's partner, BioNTech, has announced that tomorrow they intend to file for emergency use authorization at the FDA.
BioNTech co-founder Ugur Sahin earlier told AFP in a Zoom interview that the documents will be finalized today and tomorrow and submitted to the FDA. The FDA did not say how long it will take to review the data on vaccine efficacy and safety, the two main criteria. The scientific head of the U.S. operation to develop a vaccine, Monsef Slaoui, said Monday that the green light would probably come in December, a timeframe echoed by Sahin. He told AFP there is a chance they could receive the green light from the U.S. this year and even starting delivering the vaccine by December. The BioNTech/Pfizer shot and another one being developed by U.S. firm Moderna have taken the lead in the global chase for a vaccine after large-scale trial data this month showed that their jabs were around 95% effective against COVID-19. The twin breakthroughs have lifted hopes for an end to a pandemic that has infected more than 56 million people and caused over 1.3 million deaths worldwide since the virus first emerged in China late last year. The US, the European Union, and a slew of other nations have already placed orders for the hundreds of millions of doses of the top vaccine candidates in development. Health workers, carers, and people considered at high risk for severe COVID-19 are set to be first in line for the jabs.
And we need to actually double down on the public health measures as we're waiting for that help to come, which will be soon. We'll be getting vaccine doses into people at high priority at the end of December. We're not talking about shutting down the country. We're not talking about locking down. We're talking about intensifying the simple public health measures that we all talk about.
Many London taxi drivers rent their instantly recognizable black cabs from fleet companies such as GB Taxi Services, where Gregorio is one of the owners. But with London streets emptied by the coronavirus lockdown, many drivers are unable to keep paying for their vehicles and are handing them back in droves.
Well, what you can see here behind us is basically storage of, the majority of our fleet of taxis, unfortunately, are not being rented at the moment by licensed drivers because there is no work for them in London. So our fleet at the moment is just sitting here doing nothing, and drivers are sitting at home without any work because of the current pandemic.
Famed worldwide, the British capital's black cabs were originally designed to accommodate a passenger in the top hat. To earn a license, drivers have to pass a fiendishly difficult exam called the Knowledge, which tests their recall of streets, routes, and landmarks purely from memory. But fields full of taxis are now a mass phenomenon, said Steve McNamara, General Secretary of the Licensed Taxi Drivers Association.
I think it's approximately 55 of the vehicles that are sitting here. The catalytic converters and the DPF filters have been stolen from underneath the vehicles. And I believe what they do with those is they, because they contain precious metals, these seeds then taken down to recycling, these metal recycling centres, and cash in on them. But that's left us with an approximate damage cost to replace these units of around £120,000 at the moment. I couldn't tell you if we're confident to get through this at the moment. It is a struggle, and it's day by day now, not knowing what's going to happen. It's taken a massive impact on the business, and yes, to be quite frank with you, we are hanging on a thread, as many other businesses are, but also you have many other businesses who have had to totally fold,
According to official figures from Transport for London, the number of licensed black cabs has gone down from more than 19,000 in March 1 this year to just under 15,000 on November 8.
We've had to stop the insurance on them. We've had to stop the road tax on them. We've had to take out the taxi meters and return them to the meter companies because they're on rental, just to try and keep, our costs down to a minimal.
Coming up, Independent Samoa confirms first COVID-19 case. And in sports, Golden State Warriors select James Wiseman at number 2 in NBA draft. Eagle News International continues after this.
Turuan din natin ang mga bata ng tamang paghugas ng mga kamay. Basain ang kamay ng tubig at lagyan ng sabon. Kuskusin ang iyong mga palad. Gayon din ang pagitan ng mga daliri. Pati na ang likod ng mga palad at daliri. Ganon din ang iyong hinalaki. Kasama ang mga dulo ng iyong mga daliri. Pagkatapos ay iyong kalapulsuhan. Gawin ito ng kahit 20 segundo. Pagkatapos ay banlawan ng tubig at patuyuin.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News International from Canada. I am Arnie Malihan from Vancouver, British Columbia. The independent state of Samoa has reported its first case of COVID-19 despite current travel restrictions and months of success in preventing the virus from entering the South Pacific nation. Eagle News correspondent Alfred Asenas of our Hawaii Bureau files this report.
Mr. Tulia Epa Sailele Malelegoy, the Prime Minister of the independent state of Samoa, offered some words of calm to his fellow countrymen of more than 200,000. after confirming that a man flew into their country last Friday and tested positive for COVID-19 while in a supervised, isolated environment. During a televised address on Thursday, the Prime Minister stated, and I quote, "We now have one case and will be added to the countries of the world that have the coronavirus." The said patient was a sailor who arrived in Samoa on a repatriation flight from Auckland, New Zealand. Until recently, the remote Pacific Island states were among the most successful in the world at keeping out the virus after closing their borders early in response to the threat, despite the huge cost to tourism-reliant economies. But in the past couple months, countries like Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, the Marshall Islands, and now independent Samoa have lost their coveted virus-free status, although none have so far reported any community transmission. To recall, around this time last year, Samoa had to deal with a measles epidemic that claimed 83 lives, most of them babies and toddlers. Samoa is also trying to avoid repeating history as it lost more than 10,000 people during the influenza pandemic more than a century ago. Now, even as we speak, the island nations and territories of Kiribati, Micronesia, Nauru, Palau, Tonga, Tuvalu, as well as American Samoa remain free of COVID-19. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm Alfred Asenas, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you.
The Golden State Warriors selected Memphis Tigers center James Wiseman at Wednesday's NBA draft and lose Klay Thompson for the season with an Achilles tear. With more, here's Eagle News sports correspondent Tenny Sumagwe.
With the second pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select James Wiseman from the University of Memphis.
The Golden State Warriors selected Memphis center James Wiseman in Wednesday's NBA draft. The 19-year-old is excited to play for the five-time NBA champions alongside Steph Curry and Draymond Green.
Just being that guy, just to come in there and just learn as much as possible. Like me coming in, great vets, Steph Curry, you got Klay Thompson, you got Draymond Green, Marquise Chris, Kevin Looney, you got a lot of great players in that team. So me just coming in, just trying to fit my role, just try to stay humble and just trying to be coachable, which I am. And just go in there and just, work hard and just play hard. So really like that fit and that position that I'm in, it's a great position for me, great fit for me, and I'm just ready to go in there and just play my role.
The Warriors received devastating news on Thursday in regards to Klay Thompson. Fresh off recovering from his ACL injury that he suffered during the 2019 NBA Finals, Thompson tore his Achilles in his right leg during a workout in Southern California. The five-time All-Star is scheduled to make a full recovery and will miss the rest of the entire 2020-2021 season. For more news on the NBA, tune into Eagle News. In New York, Tenny Sumagi, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
That's our program for today. Join us again next week as we bring stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I am Arnie Malihan. We live in interesting times.